It's Saturday the 26th of February. It's just gone 6 o'clock and welcome to our news programme. And in the news this week, Public Health Dorset is urging that despite the government withdrawing the COVID restrictions, that residents continue to stay at home if they test positive for COVID-19 or display symptoms of the virus. Following the government's announcement that all remaining legal COVID-19 restrictions would end, there is no longer a legal requirement to self-isolate following a positive test from COVID-19 from Thursday just gone, the 24th of February. However, Public Health Dorset advice remains the same, and they suggest that anyone who has symptoms of COVID-19 or a positive test should stay at home and avoid contact with other people to avoid spreading the virus to others. Sam Crowe, who's the Director of Public Health for Dorset and Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council areas, said the latest national announcements signal a new phase of the pandemic as we learn to live safely with COVID-19. But it's important to remember that the virus has not gone away. Whilst we're in a much better place now, there are still risks, particularly for those who are more vulnerable to the virus, and we need to remain cautious for a while longer. COVID-19 spreads very easily between people, so self-isolation remains an important way of protecting others. This week, temporary traffic lights on Mercery Road near Sainsbury's have been causing chaos. Utility company Gas Transportation Limited is carrying out works near Sainsbury's on Mercery Road in Weymouth, and two-way traffic lights have been in place. This road is a key route into town, as well as being used to access the Beefeater, Sainsbury's and Aldi. The company is also carrying out works at nearby Suter Way under temporary lights. Work started on February the 14th and is expected to run through to March the 4th. The route's also used by buses and cars travelling towards the Park and Ride and is a key bus route into town. Drivers have taken to social media to vent their frustrations and warn other drivers. One person said, "Good luck if you're going to Sainsbury's. It's just taken me 20 minutes to get out of the car park." Hopefully some action's been taken on that by this weekend. Proposals for Dorset Police's new headquarters at Winfrith have drawn criticism from Wall Parish Council, who are worried about its glass surface leading to birds flying into the building. The parish council say the design for the curtain walling on the building shows the reflection of sky, clouds and trees, and that it's well known that reflective surfaces on buildings cause tens of thousands of birds each year to fly to their deaths as they attempt to fly through the surface into the landscape they see in the reflection. The council says that there are colonies of house martins and swifts living nearby, which could be at particular risk. If the new headquarters is approved, it will replace the A10 building on the eastern side of the former United Kingdom Atomic Energy Authority site, close to the eastern side of the site. Consultation rooms at the former Abbotsbury Road GP practice, which closed in 2019, are to be converted into homes. The surgery closed in March 2019 with patients transferring to other local practices. Dorset Council has now approved a planning request from Dr Suzanne Roberts to convert the rooms at 24 Abbotsbury Road property into 5 1 and 2 bed flats after a previous application met with widespread opposition. The planning application said the external appearance of the building will largely be unaltered apart from some new windows, and the premises has parking for 3 vehicles at the rear which will remain. The adjoining consulting room number 26, which was above the chemist shop and was attached originally to the main surgery building, had previously been granted permission for conversion into a 1-bedroom flat with a living/kitchen room and a shower room. Dorset Council has launched a new round of grants to support social, voluntary and community sector organisations. The Organisational Support Revenue Fund, or OSRF for short, will provide core revenue support to local community organisations that address the needs of disadvantaged, underserved and marginalised communities in Dorset. Social, voluntary and community sector organisations that support the need of vulnerable people in the community and provide activities, particularly emergency health and social care provision, can apply for a grant of between £5,000 and £10,000 per year for up to 2 years to help with their running costs. One of the previous recipients is People First Dorset, who received an organisational revenue support grant last year for £16,500 over 3 years. All applicants must demonstrate how they meet at least one of Dorset Council's corporate priorities in their application and show how their work provides support to projects that focused on marginalised and disadvantaged people. Applications must be submitted on the Council's online application form, and further details including eligibility, exclusions, funding criteria, closing dates and guidance can be found on the application form, which is on the Council's website. Applications need to be received by the 1st of April. Now, CPRE, the Countryside charity, is asking the public to count stars in a 2-week period starting from today. The results of the count will help CPRE create an interactive map of the nation's view of the night sky and where light pollution is at its worst, so councils can take action. You can become a citizen scientist by picking a clear night between now and March the 6th and counting the number of stars that you can see within the constellation of Orion. And you don't need any special equipment, telescopes or anything. And if you'd like to do that on a clear night between now and the 6th of March, just pop along to the CPRE website at www.cpre.org.uk/star count, and everything you need is there. And I've certainly partaken in this in the past, and it's quite interesting to sit there and see how many stars you can count and see how much the light does affect your view at night. Now, 5 dinosaurs have appeared in Weymouth, and you can explore and discover these Jurassic creatures at Bowleys Cove, Lodmore Country Park, the King Statue, Knowth Gardens and at New Bond Street. On each of the dinosaurs there's a QR code which you can scan, and when you visit you can view facts and all sorts of information on each of the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs have been funded by the European Union Welcome Back Fund, and the dinosaur trail and activities are organised and supported by We Are Weymouth. If you visit the dinosaurs, be sure to take your pictures and link them on Instagram with at We Are Weymouth or at Love Weymouth so that your pictures can be shared. SSEN, Scottish and Southern Electrical Networks, finally restored all those who lost their power during the Storm Eunice in the middle of this week. SSEN responded to over 1,000 points of network damage, battling fallen trees, challenging conditions, complex repairs and multiple wind warnings. SSEN also delivered thousands of hot meals, supported hundreds of referrals for their priority service registered customers, dealt with a record 1.1 million hits on their PowerTrack app, and 120,000 calls to their contact centres. SSEN recognised that customers may have questions regarding compensation, which is governed by the guaranteed standards of service set by the regulator, Ofgem. Customers will be eligible for compensation under the guarantee standards if they were without power for over 48 hours, where they will get a payment of £70, and then a further £70 will be due for each additional period of 12 hours after the original 48 hours. And there's a maximum cap of £700 compensation. Now, if you're a customer that was without power for over 48 hours, you won't need to do anything. This compensation will come to you automatically by cheque in the near future from SSEN. If you had any other costs, like finding a temporary alternative accommodation, then you should contact SSEN, because you can also claim reasonable costs towards that as well. Still with Storm Eunice, residents in Dorset have been left with a layer of dirt on windows and cars after the hurricane-like gale swept the county. Locals in the area noticed a film of dust as they headed out to see the aftermath of Storm Eunice. While a nuisance for some, the Met Office has explained that the dirt is certainly not uncommon. Met Office spokesperson Stephen Dixon explained that due to high winds and crashing waves, it becomes more likely that salt water will end up on people's windows, combined with dust and dirt which could have been kicked up during the storm. He said it's certainly not uncommon for high winds to kick up dust and dirt and can contribute to dirty windows during and after a storm. Preparations are also being made for the demolition of the old council offices on the harbour side in Weymouth, which have stood empty since 2016. Dorset Council is preparing to submit a planning application for the demolition of the derelict office block this spring, as work is ongoing to secure a development partner to build luxury flats on the site. Although the site has not been formally marketed for sale, Dorset Council has had a number of people interested in developing the site. The council is now preparing to carry out essential works to clear vegetation from the slopes at the back of the building, which begins this coming week. The scrub clearance work is necessary to expose the slope behind the building to determine if any further works are required before the site is developed. Almost £1 million of funding from central government has been allocated to enable the council to submit a plan application for demolition before inviting developers to tender for the site. British Science Week is fast approaching and will start on the 11th of March, and preparations are being made at Dorset Museum and other places in Dorset. Building on the success of the last event in 2019, the Family Science Fair will be taking place at Dorset Museum on the 13th of March between 11 and 1 and 2 and 4. It's a free but ticketed activity, and it's sure to bring out the Marie Curie or the Isaac Newton in you, is what the museum tell us. Entrance this year is strictly by ticket only, and you can get the tickets from the Dorset Museum website. It's aimed at children aged 4+, but with something for people of all ages to enjoy. The fair this year will include over 15 different stalls from a range of scientific disciplines to allow you to get involved in some fantastic hands-on learning and experiments. There will be a great range of activities hosted by local scientists, allowing you to try all sorts of investigations. Find out how physics plays a part in everyday life, discover the invisible world of microbes, explore the biodiversity of the natural world, discover how magnets and gravity work, test your knowledge of water systems, fossils and seaweed, and even handle 205 million year old meteorite. The Family Science Fair is being coordinated by Dorset Town Council, Bournemouth University, the Thomas Hardy School and the Dorset Museum and the Institute of Physics. And this year's Family Science Fair has spread its wings wider with partners across the town to create the first Dorchester Science Festival, which will take place over 10 days in total from the 6th to the 15th of March. Others offering events as part of the week include Dorchester Arts, Waterstones, Dorchester Library and Learning Centre, the Thomas Hardy School, Cape Farewell and Brewery Square. Just to mention one other of them, Dorchester Arts are not only hosting a show called The Magic of Science, but they have a whole series of activities taking place under the installation of Luke Jerram's Mars, a 7-metre diameter, stunning, accurate recreation of our nearest planetary neighbour. We have spoken about Luke Jerram's previous moon creation as well on this programme. And again, tickets are available ahead of that through the Dorchester Arts website. We will be providing more information on that Science Week as we get closer next week. Police have banned 3 people from Weymouth Town Centre after being called to reports of antisocial behaviour yesterday. Officers received 2 separate reports of antisocial behaviour in Weymouth and have banned 3 people from the town centre. A man who was said to be heavily intoxicated was also returned home by officers on patrol. A spokesman for Weymouth and Portland Police said, "We have received 2 separate reports of antisocial behaviour in the town centre. Neighbourhood officers have attended both incidents and issued 3 Section 35 dispersal notices directing those involved out of the town centre. If they return or come to further police notice, then they will be liable for arrest." A further heavily intoxicated male was also just been returned home after he was located by officers on patrol. Please remember, we cannot be everywhere at once, so it's important that you report antisocial behaviour incidents to us so that we can deal with them. And staying with Dorset Police, a man has been arrested in connection with an alleged burglary after police carried out a raid at an address in White Regis, Weymouth. Police searched a property in White Regis yesterday morning on crime inquiries following a reported commercial burglary in the Nottington area. The incident was reported to police on Thursday morning and is believed to have occurred overnight. Police say a tablet computer, a quantity of tools, including electric levels, a circular saw, were stolen. A spokesperson for Weymouth and Portland Police said neighbourhood officers attended an address off Camp Road, Weymouth this morning on crime inquiries following reported commercial burglary. One male had been arrested and a search of an address has been conducted. Inquiries are ongoing. Of course, anyone who's got any information on that burglary or any other crimes are asked to contact Dorset Police on 101 or alternatively anonymously via Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. Now, on a planning issue, a decision will be made next week on a drive-through coffee shop off Ham Beach Road, Portland, near to the Lidl store. The application has raised concerns about litter that it could create around the gateway site and the wider impact on the landscape and ecology. The 1.25 acre site is on the northern side of the road immediately to the east of the Ham roundabout. That's at the end of the beach road as you go into Portland, opposite the Lidl supermarket on the harbour side of the road into the National Sailing Academy. Around a third of the site will be devoted to the drive-through, likely to be a Starbucks, and this will be closest to the roundabout, with two-storey business units divided into small units on the rest of the site, nearest the sailing centre. Concerns about the site have included an adequate plan to deal with flood risk, the design of the buildings, which is said not to reflect the unique waterfront setting or the heritage coast setting, and the expanse of 76 car parking spaces. Natural England has said it is worried about the litter likely to be generated by the drive-through and is asked to see proposals to deter people walking from the site onto the beach and obviously depositing their litter. 19 people have written to Dorset Council about the proposal and only one is in favour. And finally, in our headlines tonight, an appeal from Dorset's coroner. The coroner for Dorset is seeking the assistance of the public to find the next of kin of a man who lived in Beverley Road, Weymouth. Mark George Rutherford, who was 51 years old, died at Dorset County Hospital on Friday the 4th of February 2022. Coroner's officer Ken McEwen said, "We are not treating the death as suspicious, however we have not been able to locate the next of kin. If any member of the public has any knowledge of the family members, please contact the coroner as soon as possible on 01202 123 900. So that's if anybody knows anything about the family or next of kin of Mark George Rutherford, who was 51 years old, from Beverley Road, Weymouth, if they could call the Dorset coroner on 01202 123 900. And that's the end of our headlines tonight. Now, our first feature this week, as usual, comes from Janet Hall. This week she's looking back at the beginnings of children's TV on the BBC and the time when there was something called the Toddler's Truce, which was a break in transmissions at tea time to encourage children to go to bed. So over to Janet now.
If you were a child in the 1950s and were lucky enough to have a television, you might remember Children's Hour, which ran between 5 and 6. Then at 6 p.m. every day, the television would go blank. Parents would get their children off the living room sofa, get them to brush their teeth, take a bath, change into pyjamas and get into bed just in time for the evening programmes to begin. This 1-hour break in television scheduling was known as Toddler's Truce. The idea was that with nothing on television, it would be easier for parents to peel their children from the screen and put them to bed. But why would a broadcaster care whether mums could drag their children away from the television? Well, because the BBC was the only broadcaster, it prided itself on its social responsibilities. The BBC produced a handful of programmes for children, each designed to aid a child's development within the harmonious environment of the family home. One of its first children's programmes, known as Children's Hour, featuring the famous puppet Muffin the Mule with presenter Annette Mills, started in 1946. In 1950, BBC got a dedicated staff specialised in children's programmes. Shortly thereafter began Whirligig, the first children's variety programme, and All Your Own, presented by Hugh Weldon. There was also live dramas, often adaptations of classic books such as The Railway Children and The Secret Garden. Toddler's Truce began around the same time BBC resumed television broadcast after the end of World War II, in 1946. At first, the policy didn't cause much issue. Viewers were not used to 24 hours of television programming. The BBC broadcasted for only a limited number of hours every day, and they didn't broadcast overnight. So an extra hour of no TV in the evening was hardly the matter. This also helped BBC save money because producing content was expensive. Problems arose in 1955 with the launch of the first commercial television channel in the UK, ITV, or Channel 3 as it became known. Because ITV was funded through advertising, an hour's close down meant the loss of an hour's worth of ad revenue. Supporters of ITV pressurised the government to lift the Toddler's Truce. Postmaster General Charles Hill weighed in, criticising that the truce was indeed patronising. So, on Saturday the 16th of February 1957, the truce ended, with the broadcast of a musical programme called 6-5 Special. It still continued to cease broadcasting between 6:15 and 7 o'clock on Sundays at the time of church evening services. But from Monday to Friday, the 6 to 7 slot was taken by the Tonight News magazine. Now children have their own television channel, CBBC, and it seems to be on most of the day. Bye for now.
Thanks very much, Janet. There memories of the BBC in the early days and children's programming and Toddler's Truce when they only used to broadcast a few hours a day. How things have changed now with multitudes of channels, 24-hour broadcasting. And I still can't find anything worth watching with all those channels that are available. Our second story tonight looks at one of our garden creatures, the hedgehog. Now, we have talked about the hedgehog a few times in the 2 years that we have been broadcasting, but this week we're talking about the hedgehog because a new report has been released called The State of Britain's Hedgehogs 2022. It's been published by the People's Trust for Endangered Species and the British Hedgehog Preservation Society. The State of British Hedgehogs report looks at how Britain's hedgehogs are faring. Data from different wildlife surveys is used to analyse the population trends and how these are changing over time. The report is the only comprehensive review of the status of hedgehogs in the UK. What does the report headlines tell us? Well, hedgehogs in Britain have undergone a long historic decline, but differences between urban and rural populations are increasingly apparent. In urban areas, the picture is of a stable population showing slow signs of recovery. And this highlights the importance of gardens and green spaces and local action by people like you and me as champions of our garden hedgehogs. But in stark contrast, rural populations remain low. In the last 2 decades, numbers have continued to decline by between a third and 3/4 nationally. The largest declines are seen in the eastern half of England, so not a good story. So this week, Lydia is revisiting a topic we've covered before, as I say, on how we can encourage and look after hedgehogs in our garden, and hopefully we can play our part to continue to buck the trend on the general decline of hedgehog numbers.
Hedgehogs are a gardener's friend, as they eat beetles, caterpillars, worms and other invertebrates. Hedgehogs can travel around a mile every night, so they may need help to get into and out of your garden. Try cutting holes in fences, removing bricks from walls, or digging tunnels under the garden boundary. Hedgehogs can travel through gaps as small as 13 by 13 centimeters, so these gaps don't need to be large. Or, swapping your wall or fencing for native hedgerows provides a route in and out of your garden, as well as shelter for a range of wildlife. Supplementing a hedgehog's natural diet by leaving out food and fresh water is a great way to encourage local hogs into your garden. Leave out foods like tinned dog or cat food and cat biscuits or crushed dog biscuits. Good quality, meaty specialist hedgehog food can be bought from wildlife food suppliers. Never feed hedgehogs milk as it can cause diarrhea. Instead, provide plain, fresh water in a shallow bowl. Bread should also be avoided as it's low in nutrients. Remember to check the food and water bowls each day to top them up with fresh water and food, and remove any food that hasn't been eaten. Always clean the dishes outside, not in the kitchen, every day with hot soapy water and rinse well. This will help to reduce the risks of spreading disease between different hedgehogs that might eat from the same dish. Some hedgehog-friendly gardening tips. Hedgehogs can easily fall into uncovered drains or holes in your garden. Cover holes or check them every day to make sure no hedgehogs have become trapped. Place bricks or stones at the side of ponds, or create a sloped edge on part of the pond to give hedgehogs a way to climb out if they fall in. Cover swimming pools overnight and when they're not in use. Check for hedgehogs before using strimmers or mowers, particularly under hedges where they might be resting during the day. If you're forking over a compost heap, these should also be checked first for any nesting hogs. Always thoroughly disturb bonfires immediately before you light them, as there could be hedgehogs nesting or hiding inside. Moving the whole bonfire by hand immediately before setting it alight is the best way of ensuring that hedgehogs and other wildlife are not sleeping in there. Litter is a real hazard to hedgehogs. They can get their heads stuck in tins, plastic bags, binders from drinks cans or discarded yogurt pots. Make sure you dispose of your rubbish safely and there's no litter in your garden. Don't forget to snip the straps of disposable face masks too. If you have any netting or wire in your garden, make sure it's at least a foot above ground level as hedgehogs can easily become tangled up in it. Pack away or roll up fruit nets, tennis and goal nets when they're not in use. We recommend replacing any netting in your garden with solid metal mesh if possible, which is less likely to entangle hedgehogs. Don't close your shed doors if you usually keep them open, as there might be hedgehogs nesting there. Make sure any dangerous chemicals or tools are kept well off the ground. If you need to dismantle your shed, check carefully underneath the floor first for nesting or hibernating hedgehogs. Slug pellets and pesticides can poison hedgehogs and should only be used as a last resort. Instead, try using one of many natural alternatives, like sprinkling crushed eggshells or coffee grounds around the plants you need to protect. If you have to use pellets, place them under a slate which is inaccessible to hedgehogs. The outdoor use of slug pellets containing metaldehyde will be banned in Great Britain from March 2022. If you want to encourage hedgehogs in your garden, leave areas of the garden wild, with piles of leaves, logs or compost. These are an attractive nest as well as a home for the invertebrates that hedgehogs like to eat. Why not consider making a hedgehog house? Making one can be as simple as placing a piece of board against a wall. Or you can buy a purpose-built hedgehog house, or even try to build your own. The British Hedgehog Preservation Society have a wonderful website called Hedgehog Street, which covers everything about hedgehogs. Why not take a look and see how you can promote hedgehogs in your garden? It can be found at www.hedgehogstreet.org. Now back to Gary in the studio.
Thanks, Lydia. And as Lydia said there, if you want to read the whole report on the state of Britain's hedgehogs, or you want to find out how to make a hedgehog house, or how to look after hedgehogs in your garden, do pop along to Hedgehog Street. And it can be found at www.hedgehogstreet.org. Now, our third story tonight goes back to something we covered last week. And you remember we mentioned last week about the Netflix documentary fund and the work of 10 film producers supported by grants from Netflix. In the week, I was in touch with the team at Netflix, and they've actually given me permission to give you a taster of one of the documentaries. It's quite difficult to know which one to pick, but the one I've picked is called The Detective and the Dog Thief, and it's by somebody called Baya Kabilu. Every 4 hours in Britain, a pet is stolen. The documentary follows the hunt for the missing pets, from the former homicide detective tasked with finding them and the owners left distraught, to the thief making six-figure sums a year. Driven by big profits with dogs worth up to £7,500, theft is at a record high. Offering tragedy, humour, action and redemption, The Detective and the Thief follows a number of different storylines. The former homicide cop turned pet detective using police-style surveillance, working to reunite pets with their families, anxious families heartbroken by the loss of their dog, and the pet thief JD, who has stolen over 70 dogs. The film captures the day-to-day reality that all of these people face, whether it's for the pursuit of a thief, dog, or the lengths families will go to protect themselves from the threat of outside attack. Let's have a taster now. We're just going to see part of the film, but it will certainly give you a taster, and then I'll tell you how you can see the rest of it if you want to. Here we go. What was it called? The Detective and the Thief.
Hi, could you please give me a call back on this number urgently? I think you've been taken by someone I don't know. Please, can you call back? I was just wondering if anybody's handed in my puppy, a Cocker Spaniel. She's white, she's 13 months old. She's gone missing yesterday afternoon and she's got no collar on.
I found your number online and I really need your help, okay? Someone broke into my house and stole my litter of puppies. Can you please call me back as soon as you can?
I used to have a dog when I was little, but Buddy was our first dog as a family. She was tiny, so she was quite vulnerable. It's like, having a little baby. I think we must have gone out at about 7:30 and it was just a family dinner. And when we came back, the house had been broken into, and the first thing I did was look for Buddy. And I couldn't find her. They took my dog and the car. It's literally one of the most upsetting things that's ever happened to me. It's just awful. My husband called the police. They sort of explained, there's nothing they can do. But my husband said he'd heard that there was a pet detective.
It sounds arrogant, but there isn't anybody in the world that can do as good a job as I can on the investigation of animal crime. There's nobody comes close. I used to be in the military for 15 years, flying helicopters. Then I was a homicide detective for another 15 years. And now I am a pet detective. Being a homicide detective was difficult, but being a pet detective is even harder. As a senior detective, I would often deal with kidnapping negotiations. Now I'm using the same skills on negotiating the recovery of a stolen dog. There is always strong demand for dogs, but during the pandemic, that demand tripled. There's been a number of occasions when I've had to say to families, we won't get your dog back.
I was in tears most of the time at home, but there's nothing I could really do.
When Ruby explained the circumstances behind the burglary, I realised that it was going to be difficult. I was going to have to use a whole range of skills and techniques to find these guys and get the dog back. Ruby's husband said there wasn't much petrol in the car when it was stolen. So straight away I'm thinking they're going to have to find fuel. So I need to know every single petrol station within a couple of miles of the house. And there was only one. So I've got access to the CCTV footage and I could see 3 or 4 offenders. So it's a team, not an individual.
When Colin told us he had identified the group of people, it just seemed that there was a sliver of hope. But, I mean, I just don't know what sort of a person would steal a puppy.
There we go. The Detective and the Dog Thief, one of the Netflix-funded documentaries from somebody who is new to production. Now, if you want to see the rest of that, you can go onto YouTube. You can search for Netflix Still Watching and The Detective and the Dog Thief, and you can see that documentary. You can see all of the other documentaries in the same place as well. And well done to Bea Kabilu, who is the director and producer of that. And I have seen the whole of that documentary, and I can say there is a happy ending for Buddy the dog in that story. So, but it is a big problem with so many dogs and other pets being stolen and attracting high value these days. And so it's something that increased during COVID. Now it's that time in the programme where we go to see what the weather has in store for us the rest of this weekend and of course for the week ahead. And this week we're joined from the Met Office by Aidan McGivern.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office. Following the storms of last week and the wintry showers of this week, the final weekend of meteorological spring is looking less wintry. Into Saturday evening, and the clear skies in the south tend to migrate northwards as the winds back a little, and as a result we'll see some clear spells there for eastern and southern Scotland. But thicker cloud always towards the west of Scotland, Northern Ireland as well. A weather front is approaching here slowly overnight to bring some light and showery outbreaks of rain to the Western Isles, perhaps the far west of Northern Ireland. But that's about it. For most, it's a dry night and a clear night, so temperatures dropping, but not as far as they might otherwise because of the keen breeze. So a touch of frost in sheltered spots for England, Wales, eastern Scotland first thing Sunday, but a bright start. Plenty of blue skies once again up and down the country. It turns a little cloudier into the afternoon for Wales and the southwest as this front pivots. perhaps some rain into Cornwall, but you can see the front really starting to weaken by this stage. No more than a showery feature. So no particularly wet weather, I think, for most and for many parts of the UK. Actually, Sunday's another bright and rather breezy day, highs of 9 to 10 Celsius. Much more, as always, on the Met Office social media channels, and you can follow us on all of these various platforms. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Aidan, and we'll have a look and see what our local forecast is going to be for the week ahead. And oh look, it's changeable again, but at least it looks like we're going to get another nice day on Sunday, and we will get some sunny spells towards the end of the week, but we do have clouds and rain featuring there. But it's still mild. It's not like winter at all, is it? We've only had 1 or 2 cold days, so we've got the mild weather, but that does bring with it the unsettled nature and the wet, unfortunately. Looking at traffic and travel for the coming week. Roadworks, first of all, Portland Road still underway until the 4th of March. Also Buxton Road now extended to the 25th of March. Wessex Water working in Gloucester Close, Heathwood Road and Roman Road, BT Openreach in South Hill Walk, Scottish and Southern in Alma Road, Turnstone Close, SGN in Linmore Road over in Preston and Preston Road, and Gas Transportation Company we mentioned earlier in Mercery Road. Also to say for the services on trains, we are aware that around Southampton Central this weekend there are some bus replacement services, and also around Basingstoke. I recommend you continue to use the JourneyCheck website, journeycheck.com, to check for bang up-to-date travel information in respect of the trains before you travel. Looking at what's on, loads happening certainly at Weymouth Pavilion. I got the update there this afternoon. February 26th, tomorrow, an audience with Harry Redknapp. The 27th, the Sid Lawrence Orchestra. 3rd of March, Some Guys Have All the Luck, which is the Rod Stewart story. 5th of March, The Chronicles of Narnia. 6th of March, Fascinating Ada. 11th of March, The Manfreds. 13th of March, Marty Wilde and the Wildcats. And 16th of March, this sounds really interesting, Sir Ranulph Fiennes, called Living Dangerously, obviously talking about his exploits. An advance notice that Cold Place, the world's leading tribute to Coldplay, are going to be at the Pavilion on Sunday the 1st of May. So they're very pleased to announce that. More details on all of the things happening at the Pavilion on their website at weymouthpavilion.com. Or by phoning the box office for tickets 01305 783 225. At the Knowth Fort, the top secret half-term spy mission continues until Monday. We've got the Science Festival there on the 19th and 20th of March. April the 9th to the 16th is Easter at the Knowth, and all sorts of Easter activities going on. And Dorset Arts Weeks are there May the 21st to the 29th. And they will be joining in with the Platinum Jubilee celebrations from the 2nd to the 5th of June. Of course, sorry, not Platinum. Yes, it is Platinum, isn't it? Yeah. If you are involved in any of the Jubilee celebrations, do let us know. If you're having a tea party, a concert, or any other event in Weymouth, let us know. We'd love to share it with everybody as you start to develop your plans. Now, we do have a film for you this week. A film that's going to be in cinemas on the 18th of March, and it's called The Nan Movie. The Nan Movie. Witness the return of Britain's most beloved Nan. We're going to watch the trailer for The Nan Movie, which is going to be in cinemas from March the 18th. It's Catherine Tate's iconic character Nan, who hits the big screen as she goes on a wild road trip from London to Ireland with her grandson Jamie, played by Matthew Horn, to make amends with her estranged sister Nell, played by Catherine Parkinson. Militant vegan arsonists, raucous rugby teams, all-night raves and crazed cops on motorbikes all make for a proper day out. An origin story that mixes Nan's present with her past, where we finally find out what's made her into the cantankerous old person she is today. It's from Warner Brothers. The Nan Movie is released in cinemas in the UK and Ireland on March the 18th. And here it is now.
My name is Nan.
Yeah.
From London town.
What?
You got a problem?
Yeah.
I'll take you down. 2 for 1 on Jaeger bombs. I'm violent, angry, dangerous.
Nan, why'd you never talk about Auntie Nell? I could take you, you know.
What do you want to go and see her for?
Because she's dying, Nan.
Good.
You'll regret it.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying put, and that's it.
I think we can get to Nell's by Sunday.
We're not going to Nell's. I've got a 2 for 1 voucher for the day spa in Coventry. Hashtag road trip. Hashtag Bants.
Will you ever tell me what happened with Auntie Nell?
Who's this handsome lump? Let's have a proper dance.
What are you thinking about, Nan?
Hold on. This don't look like Coventry. Everyone's orange.
It's Liverpool, Nan.
Oh, have a look.
You're illegally parked across 3 disabled bays.
I've got 3 disabled badges.
You shouldn't have 3.
And yet I do. Riddle me that.
I'll go and have a word with
Now,
her.
leave off. I'll deal with this. Now listen up, millennials.
Where's my Nan?
It's like being on the moon, isn't it, eh? Are we on the moon?
It's still Liverpool, Nan.
I love your Nan.
Nan?
Oof, useless. No stamina.
You don't want to see Nell, that's fine, but I'd like to meet her.
Yeah, all right. But after we've had a quick drink, eh? Proper Guinness.
Guinness, it's 9 a.m.
When in Rome. Hello, straight out.
Unstoppable.
There we go. That's Catherine Tate in the Nan movie out on 18th of March from Warner Brothers. Now we just coming to the end of another programme, and I just wanted to say today, especially with all of the events happening in the Ukraine, that actually this programme is brought to you with the help of a product called Restream, which is a broadcast product which is actually developed by a Ukrainian company. And we're obviously thinking of them at this time. Fortunately, I think they've managed this week to get most of their key employees out of the country, but obviously they will have left family and friends behind. So we are thinking of them as we think of the whole nation of Ukraine at this time, but have been a special part of our journey in the last 2 years in providing us with the product to enable us to broadcast to you. So other things to say to you is don't forget our quizzes on tonight at 7:30, and we will go live from 7:15, so you can find us. Normal services tomorrow at All Saints Church at 8 o'clock and 9:30, with the 9:30 being live streamed, and 11 o'clock at St Edmunds. And of course, if you've got any stories, any news, any events coming up, please do let us know at news@White-Regis.tv, so that we can keep up to date with what's going on and we can share it with other people locally. I hope you have a good weekend and a good week ahead, and I look forward to being back with you next Saturday at 6 o'clock. Good night.